Diwan and try and understand the implications of each of them. Prakash, the first one is on the debt mutual fund, no taxation benefit for long-term investment. AMC companies, UTI AMC, HDFC AMC have all cracked 4 to 5%. Do you think the price now captures in the uncertainty in the future, lower inflows, or do you think there is more weakness in store and therefore you would right now at least stay clear?
Good afternoon, Rima. So, interestingly, it's come at a time when fixed deposits are just getting more attractive. And this just accelerates the process. What it does is it takes away the tax arbitrage advantage that debt mutual funds had to offer. It may not be so relevant for retail investors per se, but for institutional investors, for large ticket HNI investors, this is seriously a dent. This is going to be a disadvantage of sorts, which debt mutual funds earlier very distinctly offered. So I don't see any reason why there can't be at least some shift of incremental money, if not the existing AUM, to fixed deposits by people. People will, of course, try and kind of evaluate, what's the relative advantage in terms of accretion to them, and that will happen. So it might take time, but it is certainly a lot of AUM on its way out. And debt mutual funds are a big part of most AMC's fee income, and that is going to take an impact. So, yeah, I think what you're seeing on the screen is not just a knee-jerk reaction, but probably the beginning of a little bit of a re-rating downwards for some of the earnings trajectory for most asset management businesses. And to be honest, this was a space which was always under stress given so much of regulatory changes on the fee side, on now the taxation side, and then, of course, as I said, the competitive intensity from other alternative asset classes. So I would definitely stay clear.
All right. Hi, Prakash. Prakash, what about campus activewear? We were anticipating this large trade to take place. It's taken place. The problem is, even though the stock is half from the top, it's still trading at very elevated valuations. What's your view now? And we're not sure whether the overhang is completely out of the way.
Yes, Nigel, you're absolutely right. The overhang continues to be still around, given the fact that, it came at a time of exuberant valuations. And it's playing victim to that, and people at some point in time, the ones that come in probably hope that it would start kind of delivering slightly superior earnings to match the high valuations. But the space it is in, while it's from a large macro long-term perspective very promising, I don't see the kind of comeback in terms of demand, the kind of pricing power that they need to start clocking decent margins to justify any kind of a premium valuation. So we've seen this happen to the likes of Relaxo at some point in time, where it fell from grace. The whole saga of being such a sought after stock, and then it kind of got into the doldrums. So this is not something which is very surprising. But yeah, in terms of the intensity of fall, I think it could probably have some sort of a time correction, if not a price correction anymore, given that there are people who are willing to bet slightly bigger than normal on these blocks, as they're indicating. But it's best to kind of look at something which is more staple, much more non-discretionary in consumption, rather than these kind of plays at this point. 340 is not something which is offering great value at this point. Sure.
Okay, still expensive. We'll take a break here. The market's down 90 points, no real recovery. 16,991 is where we find ourselves at. We'll come back, and Prakash, of course, stays with us. Rajesh Kothari of Alpha Accurate Advisors will also join in on the other side. We'll discuss markets with them in just a bit.
इस बार टाटा आईपीएल जियो सिनेमा पे किसी भी स्क्रीन पे वो भी फ्री। चल भैया।
ICICI लोम्बार्ड बीफिट कवर से सारी मेडिसिन कैशलेस मिल गई।
कैशलेस मेडिसिन झूठ की वजह होती है मास्टर जी।
ICICI लोम्बार्ड हेल्थ एडवांटेज प्लस के साथ बीफिट कवर जो दे मेटर्निटी कवर, कैशलेस मेडिसिन जैसे फीचर्स। इट्स अनबिलीवेबल बट ट्रू।
Be set
celebrated with the big, bold, beautiful Nissan Magnite.
चाचू, आज मैं पायलट हूँ because you believed in me. Thank you, चाचू.
I believe in one more thing.
क्या?
कि तू मुझे एक अच्छी अदरक वाली चाय पिलाएगी.
सच्चा दोस्त वही जो आपके बारे में सोचे. पर्सनल लोन्स फ्रॉम IDBI बैंक. बैंक ऐसा, दोस्त जैसा.
Helps beat sensitivity fast. Sensodyne Rapid Relief.
The achievements of leaders can not only be assessed solely on quantitative measures of success,
but also on the value they bring to the current generation
and the legacy they build for generations to follow.
A fair and accurate evaluation of a nation's leaders demands a robust platform
that takes a comprehensive approach to assessing their achievements,
that carries authoritative credibility and is highly regarded by the top-tier leaders themselves.
An achiever who embodies all these qualities deserves to be called a true game changer.
Forbes India Leadership Awards 2023.
तू जब तक चैंपियन बनेगा ना, इसका रंग उतर जाएगा. रंग उतरा? ये रंग तो वैसे भी उतरने वाला नहीं था.
बारिश, धूप और धूल से आपके घर को सालों साल बचाए. ड्यूलक्स वेदरशील्ड पावर फ्लेक्स, घर का चैंपियन.
Making the future truly forward and charting a path towards gender parity.
100 million women today are in the working age group and may want to either sustain themselves by maintaining status quo or be ambitious enough to look for a future which is embedded in new skills, which is embedded in new enterprise. We had 200 million women in our country that have proven themselves to be fiscally not only sound but also fiscally relevant and successful. I think paradoxical that two women received an Oscar for production, which was supposedly a male bastion. Two men got it for singing and dancing.
A mega initiative to make gender parity an attainable reality. HSBC presents CNBC-TV18 Future Female Forward, the Women's Collective.
Presented by HSBC. Co-presented by HCL Tech. Knowledge partner Deloitte. Industry partner Vicky. Associate partner Reliance Industries Limited.
Welcome back. At least the downward descent on the indices has stopped. So after falling nearly 100 points from levels of 17,100 to sub 17,000 in the last 1 hour, now the markets are just spending some time below that 17,000 handle. Still lower by 0.5% on the benchmark indices, 90 points down on the Nifty with the sensex down 250 points. But at least the fall for the last 10 minutes has been arrested in a way. Mid-caps continue to bleed. Mid-cap index down 1% with individual names like Sundaram Clayton. That's down nearly 20% in trade. JK Tyre, a stock which had rallied hard in the beginning of the week, now all those gains are getting undone. JK Tyre down 9%. Puravankara has sold off close to about 8%. Few gainers, but something like ITI catches your attention because it's rallied on pretty good volumes. RVNL, which announced a dividend, is also higher in trade. And Scient in the mid-cap IT pack is up close to about 5.5%. Prakash, with the fall that we've seen in mid-caps over the last couple of days, any mid-cap which has come to very attractive levels and you would recommend a buy right now?
No, Rima, I mean, it all depends on whether you like the fundamentals behind some of these mid-caps, and the price correction is essentially nothing but a softening of, valuation premiums. I mean, that's where, things are getting more and more attractive. And as I said, post-March numbers, you'll probably have a very different set of companies emerge as very attractive from a price to earning growth multiples, right? Because the outlook is positive. So to make a long story short, if you were to look at some of these companies within let's say the auto space or the auto ancillary space, there are like let's say a Motherson wiring this thing, not the Samvardhana business, not the international business. I'm talking about the domestic wiring harness business. You are finding that you actually find that available at a P multiple which probably is far more reasonable than what we've seen in recent times in the sub 50 category. Or you have some of these renewable space players like KPI Green. It's a small company, of course, very small, 1,600 crore market cap, but tremendous amount of traction in terms of the contracts that they're getting, the kind of ROEs that they have been able to clock incrementally every quarter. So once numbers come through for March, you'll probably start seeing the whole emergence of some of these small names that offer big gains and promise. So I would not be in a hurry to do that, but because there's no runaway rally that you are seeing or expecting at this point in time. But keep a watch on the same good old businesses that start getting available at, as I said, better valuations. And the space that probably is also emerging as the pocket of promise is sugar. I know sugar is usually always circumspect in terms of regulatory overhang and things like that. But given the way things have cleaned up on the balance sheet in the last 2 years, some of these larger players will have some very significant disproportionate advantage of higher international prices now that the crushing season is also coming to an end. So you have a full play of inventory which could throw up these opportunities in that.
Got it. All right, Prakash, very quickly before I let you go, Rima pulled up Sundaram Clayton. And the stock is appearing like it's down 20%, but actually there's a corporate action that's taken place because they announced some time back that they're going to be giving out a non-convertible preference share of roughly around 1,100 rupees, and that's why the share has adjusted by that. So whoever bought yesterday, actually they'll be getting this 1,100 non-convertible share in the coming time. Do you have a view on this stock? Because they've announced an entire scheme where first you will get this non-convertible fixed asset. Then later on, they're going to demerge the business. The die casting business will be listed separately. And it's an indirect play on TVS Motors because they hold shares out there. Do you have a view on it?
Oh, absolutely. I think this was a fairly complex restructuring exercise. And actually, once you dive into it, you'll realize that the sum of parts is far greater than what the stock offered at, closer to whatever 4,700 whereabouts. The reason is very simple. The demerger will eventually unlock value, and you probably have very separate treatment in terms of the multiples being accorded to both the businesses, the core business and the die-cast business, which is something which always kind of brought the overall valuations down. So it's definitely tremendous unlocking potential in this sense. And the fixed income, paper that you're actually getting, if you add that up also, I don't see any reason why with that preferential dividend attached to it, it would be unattractive. So it's something which you could also liquidate if you don't like. But if you were to keep it in the portfolio, it's a great combination of dividend yield and capital appreciation from all these 2-3 different instruments that you will start owning. So it's quite positive. As I said, the underlying business is also fairly intact given their strength. Not at all vulnerable to any kind of migration to EVs and things like that. It's a very steady state business. With almost like a monopolistic status.
All right, Prakash, thanks very much. Good. Have a good weekend. Appreciate you joining in and running us through those views. Rajesh Kothari is Managing Director at